So hold on, your mother doesn't want you, so she doesn't want you to go to her mother because maybe she's got an issue with her own mother. So the state now takes you?
Yeah, but I literally had a home that I could go to where I could be with my nan who'd raised me most of my life, you know, whilst my mother was out working. Basically, I like just about every day I was just with my nan. Like my nan was the one who like taught me everything.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that. Is she still alive?
Sorry.
Don't apologize, mate. This is what I mean, like something has made you who you are today. And I'm sure it's this. Adversity and difficult times, you know, shaped the person that you are today. I can't even imagine what you've been through.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But
And were you bullied?
yeah, I was the youngest one going in. So, like, you had all the ones who were like 15, whatever. They, yeah, absolutely ever living shit out of you. But no, that's, yeah, it's like, you know, I used to run away and I used to try and tell people, and like, they just, no, well, someone's got to do something. Well, who's going to do anything? You know, I used to have to choose, because we actually had keys to the rooms, right? I had to choose, do I try and run to the room in order to, but then I've got to get the key in the door, right? And it's like, you know, because they're chasing me. It's like, do I try and get the key in the door? But then that's going to take some time, and then I need to open the door, and it's the time to just get it closed as well. Or do I run to the staff room? But you run to the staff room and you're like banging on the door, and they don't care. They don't care. They will literally, they're punching you outside of the staff room for like a minute before the door opens. So it's like, which do I choose? Because if I try going to the room in which, you know, I was meant to have, and then they could get into the room and they could just smash up the whole room, you know.
You are listening to the Doc Malik podcast. This show is 100% independent and fully funded by listeners like yourself. So if you wish to support Ahmed in all that he is doing, then please subscribe to his channel on Spotify or his Substack. Or simply buy him a coffee with a one-off donation, links to which can be found at docmalik.com. Now, let's get on with the show.
Right, I was still an orthopedic consultant surgeon. This was meant to be a hobby. And basically, I was like, how am I going to do a podcast? And I literally watched hundreds of videos on YouTube. And it was like SD cards and editing and splashing together and AI and this and that. And then there's someone who was like, oh, you could actually just edit while recording and have a platform record and then go between the cameras. There's beautiful you, there's beautiful me, there's beautiful you, beautiful me, and just keep it simple like that. And I was like, I like that. And editing afterwards is so much time. And we talked about how many roles we do, because, like, you know, you don't have this big team. You can see my team all around us, you know, MI6 agent in the corner there. So it's all about being efficient, being organized, and also cost effective. I don't want to spend money on other people when I can just do everything myself. And can I be honest with you? I can do everything really quick, really fast, and really well. And I don't want to be explaining to other people and wasting my money on other people telling them what to do. But anyway, you were saying.
How long did it take you then to learn to switch perfectly? Or are you just naturally good at multitasking?
I'm naturally good at multitasking. I was a surgeon. I was a consultant orthopedic surgeon. So, you know, I was very good at holding a blood vessel, stopping it from bleeding out, while also getting instruments and next step and or whatever it was that I had to do. Hold a bone that's fractured and stopping it from crumble while quickly plating it and clamping it and, you know, all that kind of stuff.
I mean, this sounds like a complete waste of assets in terms of our society. You know, we've got all these surgeons saving lives, and really we should be having them doing podcasts.
There you go.
You know, what are we doing with this country?
My friend, Dr. Rachel Brown, is a consultant psychiatrist, recently posted on Instagram, "I'm so glad you're no longer in medicine because you were wasted there." But anyway.
I've got a question for you.
All right, you can go ahead. It's a conversation, by the way. It's not an interview. So yeah.
Video games.
Yes.
Do you play them?
No.
Really? Did you?
Yes.
You know, they say that surgeons are really, a lot of surgeons have a background in video games. Surgeons who play video games or played video games are much better surgeons.
I'm not surprised because I told that to my boss a long time ago. A guy called Michael Wilkinson at King's College Hospital. 2001, 2? A long time ago. You probably weren't born. Well, you're just a baby. Anyway, so we were doing keyhole surgery of the knee, and I wanted to do it, you know, because you're a trainee surgeon. You want, let me at it. And the boss is like, this is very difficult. You have to triangulate, Ahmed, the camera with the thing that you use to manipulate the tissue inside, and the camera's angled at 70 degrees and it's all in your head, and you can't be looking at the knee, you need to look at the camera over there, and it's very, very difficult. And I'm looking at him thinking, I could do this. He went, here, have a go. And I whizzed around this knee joint. I'm like, there's the lateral meniscus, the medial meniscus, the ACL, blah, 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 blah. And he's just going, have you done this before? And I'm like, nope. And he goes, how are you so good at it? I went, it's just like a computer game.
25-man kill streak on Call of Duty.
I played Call of Duty. So I was a gamer, and I was addicted to this stuff, and it was not good. If I could go back in life and change something, it would be not waste so much time playing bloody computer games.
You say that, but it may have helped you be a really good surgeon.
I don't know. Are you a gamer?
Do you know what? No, not really. I mean, for games, I like RPGs. So anything with a really good story. I love stories. I love fantasy. I love magic. Anything like that. I love Dungeons and Dragons.
Nice.
So I used to be a dungeon master, so I've still got the skills.
I never played that game. I used to watch the cartoon as a kid, but never played the game.
So the cartoon was before my time, but imagine you're playing a game like a video game, except you could do literally anything. I mean, this object here, right? This might be glued to the table in a video game, so you couldn't interact with it. Well, in this game, you can do literally anything you want to do. So for example, I would be God. I am the entire world, every single character except for you and your mates who are in the party. So you choose everything that you want to do. I'm just the guy who is every other character. So I have to describe what happens. I have to make events as challenging as possible, or as challenging as reasonable for you. So you can decide to completely dick off the main quest and race across the other side of the world because you've decided you want to have a boat for absolutely no reason, and I've got to make some sort of quest you're going to stumble into on the high seas with zero preparation.
Sounds great.
Yeah, and it can be really fun, and I like it because it's imaginative. It's not you've got 4 buttons. Okay, in a game you've got 4 buttons. You can do 4 things. This you can do anything. You can try and persuade someone, intimidate them. You can use jokes. You could decide that you're going to hide under a table for no reason, and everyone's going to look at you really strangely and start interacting with you completely differently. You can decide that you're going to kill a goblin by criticizing him.
Wow. Okay. I can see why that would appeal to certain people. There are people at my jiu-jitsu gym who are in their 50s who play it, and it's like Saturday night dungeon thing, and I'm like, okay, good for you guys. Do you want to come, Ahmed? No, it's all right, pass.
Not for you. You should give it a try.
I got enough on my plate. I need to finish my book. I've started writing my book. I'm really happy. I'm in the flow. I've got the creative juices just oozing out of me now. I've put it off for 2 years. Well, not put it off. I've been writing it in my head for 2 years, but now I'm actually typing it out, and it's just great. So,
what's your book about?
I don't need distractions. Doc Malik's Simple Guide to Good Health. And then I've got my second book, which I've just done the title for. which is going to be called, I'll read it out to you, I'm going to get proper. It's going to be my autobiography, which is The Making of a Dissident Surgeon, A Journey Through Medicine, Truth and Conscience. And the third book is going to be The Advanced Guide to Good Health.
I was wondering when you were going to get to advanced. I've been writing a book perennially for about 5-6 years now.
Have you actually started?
I have, actually. I'm writing a book of riddles. I've got about 150 of them.
150 riddles? Yeah. Fantastic. I thought it'd be about freedom.
No. I mean, I do think, I'd like to have my whole treatise of what I want government and society to look like. But then I'm always running around doing a bit of journalism, filming this, filming that, speaking to this person, speaking to that person. And this is something creative. I think everyone needs something creative in their spare time. So, I like, reading things, watching things, occasionally playing something like Dungeons and Dragons, and I write my riddles. And do you know what? I think it was mostly the Met Police, their fault, because, you lock someone in a cell and you deprive them of a book for how many hours, then they're going to be extremely bored. And I just ended up writing all these riddles trapped in cells. I went, okay, this is definitely going to be a book now. It's not just something that I'm doing on the side. And I've got a big collection of them now.
And they're all yours, and you've checked the internet, and then no one else has come up with these riddles. There's no pre-existing riddle like that.
No.
That's nice.
I mean, I could give you one. I don't want to give you my favorite one. The answer contradicts a phrase. No. Let me give you a different one. The weight by which your actions weighed, upon a prince's crest displayed, men have used me to make their mark, though I'm more useful for a lark.
I have no idea. You need to write that down and get me looking at it first. Well, I'll tell you why. People learn for different ways. Mine's is visual. I need to literally see something, like the print. So when I hear things, it's not as good. Write it down and give me a day and I'll get back to you.
Okay.
That's a promise. Right. How much time have you spent in cells?
Well, do you know what? It was funny. One time they grabbed me, smashed my stuff, and like twisted the cuffs on me down near Wood Green. And they were booking me in. This was like 2021 or something like that. And as they were booking me in, the custody sergeant realised it was all absolute bollocks and he completely messed up. So...
What do you mean bollocks? Why is it bollocks?
Well, I was there filming the police harassing, I think it was peers and some other people were just out, holding a protest against lockdowns. And I'm there as a journalist filming what's going on. I'm exempt. I'm an essential worker according to their stupid rules.
You're an observer. You're not actually participating. You're not.
Yeah. I mean, there are possibly fewer than, definitely fewer than a handful of times where I've actually participated in protests. I mean, like in terms of like since doing the journalism, before then I did Brexit protests and stuff, but I think for my birthday, one birthday, everyone decided to like sing me happy birthday, and then they're like speech, and I was like, okay, I'm going to take my journalist hat off for a second and do a little speech. It was like outside Balenciaga, so I condemned Balenciaga for their weird teddy bear stuff with kids. But yeah, I people know that I don't wave placards. I'm not shouting the slogans. I obviously sympathise with a lot of what's going on. I think most people know my opinions, that I'm a freedom journalist. I cover things relating to freedom because that's what I care about. I think everything that's not freedom has a lot of coverage. So it needs someone to come in and give more dedicated coverage to people who are fighting for freedom. And it's sometimes difficult because no one's perfect. No one that you're covering is perfect, and you have to make a judgment. You have to think, okay, well, this person's good on one issue, but they're completely wrong on another issue, as far as I'm concerned, or as far as most people are concerned. And you have to make a judgment. You're like, is this person for freedom? Are they against freedom? Or are they just for freedom in this aspect? So they deserve coverage because they're doing the right thing in this aspect. So, I mean, covered all sorts of stuff. Covered the Julian Assange stuff, the farmers stuff. I mean, the Kill the Bill stuff. the Sarah Everard, obviously the lockdowns, the jabs, no to digital ID. Just
Mandates, vaccine mandates.
obviously the jab mandates. One of my favorite videos that I ever, made was going down to Abbey Road with a bunch of people who decided to protest the Abbey Road zebra crossing, off the Beatles.
Iconic Beatles one, yeah.
Yeah. So the protest was of a zebra crossing. And it was against all the digital ID that people were the government was trying to force in to go to music venues. And the whole thing was, I think it was Jacksonville, or was it Louisville? The Beatles went over in America to play, and they said, you've got to play to a segregated audience. And Beatles went, no, we don't play to white or black. Like, we're just going to play to everyone. And it's sad that they could go and do that then when, the culture is on their side and everything's going in their direction. But then suddenly when it comes to these jabs, where's Paul McCartney?
Right.
Like, it's sad because I think a lot of people in most cases or many cases will do the right thing. But then in certain cases it becomes socially unacceptable, but then they just won't. So I think most people are very profoundly inconsistent in their morality. And it only takes, a few things to really be categorized as monstrous. It's mad. I think of all the doctors who were out there, like you, working in the NHS, living sort of vaguely like normal lives, and then suddenly they're told, oh, no, you have to give this thing as well. And there are a bunch of people saying, hey, look, this is dangerous. People being sent letters, the people protesting outside the hospitals. There's all this stuff going online. You've got hundreds of thousands of people marching through central London, although not according to the BBC, probably didn't happen, or the mainstream media. Apparently it was just hundreds of people. One of the best videos is, they literally put out an article saying there were hundreds of people, and there were probably about hundreds of thousands. And they just absolutely lied. And it's funny because I went through that article doing a debunking video. I realized, wait a second, this paragraph is exactly the same, word for word, like 40, 50 words, every single word, all the punctuation, exactly the same. I realized, okay, these have different names on. These are meant to be by different people, but they're exactly the same article. So I do some digging. Using the references, this thing called PA or like Reuters. I'm like, okay, what is this? I realized that there are these things called news agencies, and these things called news agencies are basically, they sell stories. So it's like one guy on the ground goes, covers the thing.
Sometimes
right?
Not even from the ground, from their desk.
Yep.
About a country very far away.
Yep. So maybe they take a bit of video evidence themselves. Maybe they've taken it from social media and they've just put their own narration over it.
So we're talking about AP, Reuters, Bloomberg, all that kind of stuff. These houses that provide the news to the news companies.
Yeah. So there's one person who's written one story, who's seen one single part of it, who is not accountable for all of this story. They then sell this article is then sold to a bunch of different outlets who then slap the name of their author, who is apparently down there on the ground. He's reporting on it. He wasn't there. He wasn't at the protest. Like, these people who are putting their names on this weren't at the protest. They didn't see what happened. And they're just, and it's funny because, and then it enabled me to see how they decided to spin it. Right. And what they usually do is just mess a little bit with the first paragraph because they just wanted their intro so it sounded cool, because that's what most people read, so they could put like a little bit of spin here and there. But basically it was exactly the same thing. There were only hundreds of people and it was very dismal, and then they just sort of marched off. It's like, well, no, people were gathering here. This footage was taken, I was sure it was like an hour before it actually started. So someone turned up, there were hundreds of people rapidly turning, I think probably even thousands by then. They've taken this footage selectively from one angle of a few people standing to one side. They put out the story, and all of these people put it up without fact checking, without verifying the source or anything. They've not been there. They've not even looked around. So they've got no clue what's going on. Meanwhile, I'm down there. I'm probably filming and live streaming at the same time. So when people go back through, you know, I make edited videos, but I used to do a lot of, I used to sit the GoPro on top of the phone. So the GoPro would be, you know, better quality footage. It's terrible at night, but better quality footage. So you've had me stick a GoPro in your face before.
UK column. Yeah.
Yeah, the UK column conference last year. So you've had me stick a GoPro in your face, and usually I'd have the phone below that when I'm live streaming. So if anyone goes, oh, you've edited that this way or that way, it's like, well, it's all in the live stream. And it's weird. Like, you know, so many people get so many complaints for stuff they've edited. Well, that's never really been like this sort of option for me. It's like, I just edit the thing, you know, and if you want to go see the whole live stream, you can go back and basically see this whole live stream of hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of my life, to the point that I'm knackered, and I take the live stream with me into a shop to go and get some food because I'm exhausted. I mean, the longest one I ever did was 12 hours and 20 minutes.
What was that?
That was just a big freedom rally. 12 hours, 20 minutes, like the end of it, I ended up in Piers Corbyn Squat on Oxford Street getting raided by 6 vans of TSG.
TSG, for those who are abroad, is the police
Stormtroopers.
Stormtroopers. You know how like there's a quote that says, "Permit me to issue and control the money supply of a nation, and I care not who makes its laws." I think there should be and that was, you know, Maya Rothschild. We should have another one about permit me to issue and control the news supply of a nation, and I care not who presents it. You know, because that's ultimately, if you look at Reuters and foreign press and everything, they're all owned by just a handful of banks, corporations, BlackRocks and Wall Street and, you know, State Street. And their job is to not present the news, but to craft the narrative and the propaganda. They make you think what they want you to think.
Well, why do people...
It's fifth generation warfare.
Why do people own media outlets? I mean, why do they do it? I mean, you're doing this. You're doing your podcast. Maybe because you like podcasting.
No, I'm a grifter. I'm doing this so I can pay the mortgage.
But it's clearly not something that makes you an insane amount of money. You're doing this because there's a cause behind it. You started doing this as a hobby because you wanted to put the truth out there. So there's always a purpose to it. With the mainstream, it doesn't make money. So people own it because it gets them political power. You know, all the Rupert Murdochs and what's Lord Lebedev?
Yeah.
You know, it's like some Russian bloke who's now like, you know, sitting in the House of Lords, like running our country. I'm like, why is a Russian bloke get a seat, like his bum is on a red bench? Why is a Russian bloke doing that? I don't get that. I don't think Russians should be running our country. I don't think any other country should be running our country. But he's over here.
That's controversial now, by the way. You're not allowed to say things like that.
I'm not allowed to say that I should be, you know, if I am to be ruled, maybe it should be by my own people. Is that a bit spicy?
I don't want to be ruled in, like, full stop. Like I'm now full on anarchist. You know, the true form. Anarchist without a ruler. So I believe in rules, but no ruler. And I think I've slowly come to this position where I think all governments are evil. But certainly, if you're going to have a government, have your fellow man and women, your peers, you know, organize and lead, not these people in another country. It's like, what the heck?
It's just so alien. I mean, like, a lot of stuff has happened to me in being a journalist. I've been threatened near infinite amount of times. Like, there were sort of lesser assaults where you just get pushed and shoved and whatever. Then there were the more brutal ones where they beat the ever-living daylights out of you.
Really?
Yeah. There's when they stick on the cuffs, and then what they do is they twist the cuffs so that because you'd think that the cuffs would be rounded, right, for safety. Oh no, it's sharp. It's just like a corner, right? It's just a corner there, and that's made out of steel. And then they twist that, and it goes straight into your wrist. And as anyone can see, I've not got any meat to protect me on my wrists. So I used to have like lines of scars going up my wrists from the amount of times that police were putting handcuffs on me and twisting them to hurt me.
So how many times have they handcuffed you? I asked you right at the beginning, how many times have you been in a cell?
Don't know, maybe half a dozen. I've lost track. I've actually lost track at this point.
For what reason? Like you're recording the stuff? You're a bystander. You're not participating in the protests. So what's going on there?
Well, I'm a threat. I'm not part of their cartel. So there exists a cartel within this country called the UK PCA, and it is essentially the cartel of the established mainstream
PCA,
press card authority, and it makes it sound like it's some sort of state mandated body, like it's a registered profession, like you have to be with the UK PCA because it's the official body to become a doctor, you know, or like an official body, the official body to become a lawyer. No. By law, we've got free press, so I don't need to join this. If I'm a journalist, by law, I'm a journalist because I do journalism. People can see it. They can see it's my job. They can see my journalism. I'm a journalist. Full stop. You can't make me join this body. You can't discriminate against me because I won't join this body. People say, oh, but you can and you should because then you'll get a card. And I go, why do I need their card? Why can't I print my own card? Because by law, their card is no more valid than mine. And then if you do sign up to them, then they can send the police after you to take the card off, or they'll take the money and then they'll just suspend you. They've got rules that say you can't put out anything that would possibly incite someone to hate a protected group. So, for example, if you covered something about the drag queen story hour, well, that could lead someone to think poorly of transvestites. Now, you're not telling them to think poorly of transvestites. In fact, you're just covering a certain transvestite who's out there reading books to kids. So you're covering one transvestite. But that to them, if they so wish it, is enough to just kick you out.
Bingo.
And then you look at the NUJ, right? So there's this new organisation, which is this, it's sort of like a last gasp, but sort of like Blairite populism, which they're pushing. And they've called it Labour Together, which I think is a bit shady because, you know, there's already an organisation called Together out there, which, you know, does pretty good work as far as I'm concerned. And the NUJ, I was looking through the list and they've got these celebrities and it's like, oh, they've got Lenny Henry because, you know, Lenny Henry's going to save the country. It's like, okay, well, we've tried this. We tried Blairism since before Blair, really, because it didn't originate with him.
The third way politics.
Well, I think we know who consider themselves to be third positionists back in history, and those weren't the good guys. You know, the third positionists, like, you know, how did no one clock this? I mean, my family didn't vote for him. But, you know, that poster, New Labour, New Danger, with these demon eyes staring out, bang on. That was a complete and utter prediction of exactly, he is a demon. That man is pure evil. And I'm shocked that, you know, he even got away with being a Catholic, which, you know, I like the idea that someone would pledge loyalty to the ruler of a foreign state, which is the Pope, over someone in this country. That just no. This is why we're out the EU. Like, the Reformation was the original Brexit. None of it.
So basically, let's come back to the earlier point. I mean, oh God, we could talk about Blair and what he's like. I mean, forget the fact that, you know, he was responsible for the Gulf War with Bush and 1 million Iraqis dying, and then subsequent collapse of Western Asia and rise of fundamentalism and the gateways of migration opening up into Europe. Thank you very much, Tony Blair, for all of that. PFI funding, privatization of all of our, you know, state assets, hospitals, you know, schools.
You say privatization. It's not real privatization. It's pseudo privatization, because what they do is,
I mean, yeah, it's public partnership.
Yeah,
I know, I get that. So it's like we will bankroll you.
Yeah.
We will bankroll you. If you profit, you get to keep it. If you lose money, we'll bail you out.
Yeah, it's just their mates.
Yeah,
it's just people in their circles. They give them peerages, and then obviously the backhanders then go to the party to keep it in power. So all of this money is just flowing.
Oh, and it's not just that as well. Like, you know, the politicians who bring in these policies and rules, when they leave, they become board members and executive whatever on the companies that they helped promote, and they cash in, have a huge check salary. It's you know, revolving doors. But anyway, let's go back.
It's amazing how that happens when they have so little experience. It's almost like Hunter Biden, you know, in that oil and gas company. It's like he got qualified in the quickest amount of time. I'd say that guy, we've underestimated him. The skills on that man to get so qualified so quickly.
I think the secret is you need to be a coke head and work with lots of prostitutes, and you'll just learn all these skills overnight.
Well,
Anyway.
I hear cocaine improves cognitive function, so
Yeah. Anyway, so basically, you know the thing that you're talking about, these bodies that exist that you have to be members of, and then you're credentialed. I've realized from my experience with the GMC how dangerous it is and how pervasive it is, because it's a tool of censorship and control. So for example, I'm a doctor, right? I'm doing my job as a doctor. I thought the GMC used to be there to protect doctors and patients. No, it's there to protect the institutions, the authority, the establishment, the government. It's nothing to do with patients. It has nothing to do with doctors. And it's like, you know, you've got a doctor now, Dr. Rama Aladwan, who's basically saying, look, I'm not happy with what's happening in Palestine. You know, people are dying. There's a genocide going on. And the GMC is like, oh, this is anti-Semitic. You're suspended for 15 months. I was like, what's that got to do with anything? Like, why are you interfering? Or me, for example, I'm saying, you know, I'm worried about these COVID shots, and I'm worried about the trans agenda. And suddenly I'm being reported to because Ahmed is, you know, I've got concerns about Ahmed Malik. So the GMC is now looking into my case. Why? The GMC should just turn around and say, Ahmed Malik's got a clean clinical record. He's got really happy patients. He's passed all his appraisals every year for the last 20 years. He's got freedom of speech to say what he wants. No. And it's the same whether you're an architect, accountant, a joiner, a builder, a painter, an artist, an actor, an actress, an author. It doesn't matter. If you're a member of any kind of professional body, they can turn around and go, oh, well, we're not happy with what you're saying because it could be hurtful and it will bring the profession into disrepute, and we're going to have to withdraw your license and registration and expel you from this body. And because you're now expelled from this body, you can't call yourself the chiropractor or osteopath or doctor or whatever, and you can't do your job anymore. And it's like,
how many years did you spend training? How many years was it?
A lot.
How many years?
So, okay, let's do it. I went into med school when I was 17. And I became a consultant when I was 36.
Wow. So you spent, is that 19 years?
A long time, yeah. Yeah.
So you spent 19 years getting to that position of your life that you invested.
Yeah.
And
exams,
now,
weekends given up, research, no going out with your mates, having a nice time, like just grinding, putting up with abuse, bullying,
and
harassment.
I take it you were the creme de la creme.
I got to the top, yeah.
So you were totally at the top. So what they've done is not only have they taken away, you know, all the work that you put into that in your life. So they've taken away your ability to use that by saying, if you do use this, we'll put you in a cell. Because it's the reality of it. Saying, oh, we're just going to ban this person. It's like, okay, but what if they don't agree with that? And what if they just carry on? And what if someone willingly, what if I wanted you to operate on me? Let's say I've broken my leg. You happen to still have some sort of clinic where you only operate on yourself, of course, right? And I say, look, I don't trust them. Don't trust the NHS. Can you sort this out for me? They would come in the middle of this, full informed consent. I'm writing, yes, I know he's meant to be some sort of, you know, neo-Nazi, far right, far left, flat earth conspiracy theorist who, you know, thinks everyone's a lizard. But I think he's probably quite a good surgeon because I've seen his Call of Duty kill streak. They would literally come in, bust down the door, take you off in handcuffs. And you could rack up some of those scars.
Yeah.
Which I think is mad. I think if you genuinely believe that you should use the state for violence, you should be willing to do that yourself. Because when I say, oh, so you're going to use force against people, so taxation is theft, we go, oh, it's not theft. And you go, and they go, oh, well, all I want, I just don't want this to happen. It's like, well, what are you going to do? Would you be the person to go grab that person, stick them in the back of a van, take them, lock them in a box with their friends, family, home, whatever, education, whatever life they're having before then, for something that doesn't appear to have a victim? When there's no victim, there is no crime. Like, where is the victim of this? Where is the victim of a private transaction between two private individuals? If I want you to, you know, splint up my leg or, you know, sew up the skin or whatever, what business is it of the government? But they believe they have a fundamental right to invade your private life completely.
100%. Mate, you sound like an anarchist. I'm so proud of you. So basically, if I could go back in time, I wouldn't even get married under the court, you know, register my marriage with the government. Like, what has the government got to do with me and my wife? Like, I've gone that far. I don't think the government should get between any two people. And the problem is they are And not just between us, they're between the family, the spouses, in the workplace, in the schools. They're everywhere, and they're growing like a cancerous growth, which feeds itself. And the problem is now more than 50% of the economy is now the government, like government paid jobs. And most people are beholden to the government. So it's this kind of like parental figure that everybody loves. And you've got the good mama who takes care of you, and you got the bad strict dad who kind of like punishes you, but they're the parents and we love them, and it's that mindset that we need to get rid of. And James Corbett talks about this in his book Reportage, and he talks about just what you've just said, where like, you know, if a guy came up to you in a dark alleyway with a hoodie and a knife and said, give me all your money, you'd be like, a thief. You know. But if it's a person in a suit sending you a letter from an office saying pay your tax, then it's like, okay, how much do you want me to give more? And it's like, it's that mindset. It's just
how many kids is that tax going to bomb? You know, and like, what am I funding? I'm funding you committing crimes by locking up people for stating opinions. That's disgusting. That's funding crime. That's funding these people committing all of these ghastly crimes, all of these, you know, fairly pointless wars. And, you know, people look at me and go, oh, you're like this massive nutter pacifist. I'm like, not even. I just think before we, you know, restore the British Empire, we should probably be able to fix our own country. I do think there are countries out there where if we actually had a stable, sensible country and we could, you know, go over and help a country become much better like we've done in history, right, where we're there invested for like 150, 200 years, I'm going to transform that country and fundamentally give people rights. Like, votes don't matter, rights do. I mean, votes are only matter insofar as they get you your rights. Okay, votes are just a tool. Rights are the end result. Rights are what you want. You want to be able to speak, to act, to associate. You want your bodily autonomy. These are all things that you need in order to exist. Your vote is worthless if it can't get you that. If it can't get you any of the things you want or you need to survive, what's the point in voting?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, charity definitely begins at home, and right now there's a lot of charity that needs to be done at home. But listen, you just said something there, and I strictly really disagree with you. You know, I used to think at some point, yeah, the British Empire did some good around the world. Man, I've really done some deep dive research into this. They freaking raped and pillaged across the world. Yes, they brought railways and education systems. You know why? To have a more obedient workforce. Education has come from the Prussian education system to make good soldiers, good little civil servants, and good factory workers. And then that whole model of education was spread out around the world to make people compliant because they didn't want freedom, free thinkers, critical thinkers. And they took their resources. And now nothing's changed. I just did a Substack piece on the neocolonialism of Africa. Africa should be the richest continent on the planet.
No, it shouldn't.
It should.
No, it should.
It's got all the resources.
It's not got the ports.
Mate, it's got the ports. It's got the resources.
It's not. It's the coastline of Africa is almost uniquely terrible for going for the rivers plummeting straight down into the sea. In terms of ports, it's been historically absolutely awful. In terms of rivers, trying to get into Africa is absolutely awful. Right? That's why there was a dark heart to this.
But let me just start.
Couldn't get in.
Let me just finish up. So it's got the vast majority of all the resources on the planet. It's trillions and trillions of everything you can think of, from arable land to diamonds to uranium to bauxite to all the rare earth minerals. It's all there. Guess what? Despite the lack of ports, all that is extracted and sent off to America, to Europe, to China, where it's processed, refined, upgraded and upselled, and then sold back to them. And they're deliberately kept in a dependent state where they can't ever manufacture any of their own stuff and sell their stuff for the real market value. And most mining companies, foreign conglomerates, will take 90 to 95% of the worth of the land and give back anything from 3 to 5% to the country, which then fights amongst themselves with corruption for that 3 to 5%.
Which is exactly why
it's called rape and pillage.
Which is exactly why I oppose neocolonialism. Obviously, you're going to find a million examples, or lots of examples during the British Empire, of horrible things happening and horrible things that are done. But compare that to what we have now. And I'm not saying that's just the baseline. I'm not saying, oh, because it's better than what we have now. But let's just start with that. Compared with what we have now, we used to be in a country. The country used to have stability. You did have investment in infrastructure rather than all the infrastructure completely collapsing, right? An infrastructure that domestic people could use. You had the build-up of towns and cities that actually functioned, some sanitation, some healthcare. that was developing. When we left, it was just a sort of thing of, oh, well, just they'll just sort it out. You know, people had more rights, they had more access to justice. When we left India, they abolished juries. We managed to wipe out all of the famines that were going on in India, and they were horrific until the Great Bengal Famine during the Second World War. We basically wiped out the famine, saving. We did.
No.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
Like no, people were dying and dying and dying of these famines, and they were going. Honestly, when we came in through the transport, food could be transferred across India, meaning people would survive the famines.
Oh mate, you've got a very sanitized idea of colonialism. Listen, I haven't got the facts with me right now. It's in a book on a bookshelf I read 2 years ago. I could go through all the details of how the British, East India Company literally stole the food of the people, and there's cases where people were sacked and went to jail because they killed so many of the Indian workers through the famine that there wasn't anyone else to do the work. So the East India Company started losing money, and they were like, you can't kill them, you can't literally starve them. And this was not a one-off, and the history of what they did in India was awful. Mate, it's not this clean, sanitized. It's quite racist.
What was it like beforehand?
So
is it sati where they used to burn the wives? Like what was it like in India beforehand, before we turned up, when all the Maharajas were busy fighting each other and raiding each other's villages under each other's domains?
So it depends on what part of the history you want to go to. So during the peak golden era of the Mughal Empire, it was very cohesive. It was working fine. But like all empires, they become decadent. They have their problems like we are facing here in the West now. So it was during that fall of the Mughal Empire, when there was loss of centralized control, then the little princelets and rajas were all fighting each other, and then there was instability. But some would even argue that it was the East India Company that was fermenting and fostering that and speeding up that disintegration and decline of the Mughal Empire. So I mean, it's not as simple as what we're told. And then it's the same people, the same bankers who went over to North America and genocided the Native Americans, who transplanted white Irish people.
Wait, when you say genocided the Native Americans,
yeah,
are you talking about sort of post 1776? Are you talking pre?
I'm talking about pre. I'm talking about South America, Mexico, North America, the Caribbean.
So you're talking about like Cortez turning up and
yeah,
going on his rampage. Yeah. I completely get that was awful what Cortez was doing, but nearly everyone died of disease.
That's again something that isn't strictly true.
There was actually a testimony from one of the soldiers who was with Cortez, I believe, and it goes through their trip, and then on a certain day, like just everyone in I think it was the original like Mexico. So it was on the lake, right? So there's this like city on the lake, which was the center of their empire, and just everyone in the city just started to, it just literally like flies were dropping, and that's how they managed to survive, because they were sort of surrounded, and suddenly like this, everyone was dying. They had no resistance to these diseases. And then when you look at the fact that, especially in North America, it was more of a nomadic population. I think over 95% died of disease. In South America, how is it then? How is it people were going, Graham Hancock, right? How is it people were going up the rivers, the myth of El Dorado, and they're finding these great cities. They come back, they say, look, we found these amazing cities. They've got this whole civilization going on there, right? And then people haven't gone back for decades. People go down, try and find it, can't find it.
And the Amazon has grown over
it. No conquest went down there to wipe out that city. That city just died and was swallowed by a forest. How did that happen? If these people supposedly had enough resistance to disease, that it wasn't disease that killed like the vast majority of them.
Okay, so disease did play a role, but the idea that it was the main one is not true. Like,
how would it have that city go down?
There are accounts of friars and monks who talk about the brutality of what happened and how the conquerors came over, the European conquerors, and tortured, burned, maimed, destroyed villages, thousands of people, just children, everybody, just slaughtered them all. So it wasn't all just disease. This was this.
I'm not
it's an
saying
invasion.
I'm not saying it was all disease.
So listen,
I'm saying 95%. You can't wipe out an entire city, right, from 2 people visiting.
Okay, let's forget all
without
that.
it
But
being
what
disease.
the fundamental argument is: do you think any other country has a right to colonize another country for the sake of religion, for the sake of bringing peace or democracy? I don't. I don't want to be governed by people here, never mind from anywhere else. China might look over here and go, well, those guys are locking up people for social media. This government's a regime that needs to be overthrown. There's no democracy in the UK. We've got power and might and God-given right to now come over to Britain and invade them and impose rule and order. No thanks. No thanks. How's it any different if the Brits think the same way? It's not. Guess what? If you like, imagine you're living in a house, right? And it's not 100% perfect. You're having problems with your missus, and your neighbour comes along and goes, you know what? I can hear you guys shouting in the evening. I'm going to come over here and tell you guys how to behave. You'd be like, get lost. Don't come into my house and tell me how to live my life.
Okay.
If I've got mistakes, I will work them out, or I might not. But don't come into my house and tell me what to do and how to live my life. And any empire and any colonialism is that. And it either comes with a racial mindset that we are superior and that we can do this, or a religious ideology that our religion and our God is on our side and we need to impose on you heathens. Whatever it is, it's always justified. But what it comes down to is money and resources and power and control. And I'm just fundamentally anti-colonialism, anti-rule, anti-authority, anti-all of that. I'm just pro-freedom.
Okay, so let me engage with your analogy. Imagine the house next door, right? There are kids who are being violently abused by their parent. Let's say they live with their uncle and he's violently abusing these kids. You can see the abuse. And in this situation, each house is a state, so there's no policeman to come in, get involved. Okay, are you going to say, well, you know, that's their house, I can't imperialize in their house, I can't go and save these children because that would be imperialism?
So the difference is, you could go to that house, you could take the children if they wanted to, rescue them out of that house. You're not taking over that house. You're not going into that house and saying, this is my house now.
Well, if the children are locked in the house and can't get out.
Well, then you're breaking them free. You're releasing them from that bondage and you're taking them out of the house.
Yeah, but you know what?
You don't take over the house.
You have to smash down the door. I mean, so you're going to allow the violent child abuser to walk free?
No, I'm not.
Rather than go in, and bear in mind, like, these children, this is their house because it's literally their country. Like, this is their country, so we have to take people from their country into our country, rather than just get rid of these dictators. And to be honest, I think there's a very high threshold for this. I think there's a very high threshold. I generally don't want anyone going into anyone else's country, because I think everyone's pretty useless at it.
Tell me one example of a foreign intervention that was noble and right.
Any foreign intervention?
Yeah. Give me one example.
Oh. Which one would I like to pick?
Where we are the good guys.
What's the threshold? Is it perfect?
We're the good guys.
Do we need it to be perfect?
We rescued the bad, the people from the bad ones. Give me an example.
So I guess you're critical of the Second World War. Was that a foreign intervention where we went over to other countries?
So I've looked into the First and Second World War and they're not quite what we were told.
I know there's a lot of nuance to it.
Every war is a banker's war.
I would agree that every war is a war which enriches bankers.
Those young Germans in the trenches facing the English, they had more in common with each other than they did with the bankers who organised the war.
I would also agree that they did have more in common, being working class, than, or in some ways. I mean, to be fair, I do think culture actually does play a big role. I think having a shared language history.
Let's take one in the last 50 years. Forget the Second World War and everything. Last 50 years, any foreign intervention, there's been many, by the way, like over 100. Give me a good foreign intervention where, you know, we, the West, did a good job overthrowing the government and rescuing the people.
Well, the last 50 years has been just about almost exclusively neocolonialism. So I would say probably none of them, apart from defending the Falklands. I mean, that's pretty simple. the Falklands, but that's not really a foreign intervention. That's just defending one of our colonies. But if you want to narrow it down to the period of neocolonialism, I've already said I oppose neocolonialism, so I oppose it. I'm not and I know you're probably also not an expert on colonialism going back in time, but I think in general, some colonialism can be good.
I
think some, and I like we said, what do we prioritize? Do we prioritize votes or rights? And I think if you can, with less blood being shed than otherwise would be, have a country and defend the rights of its people within your empire, then I think that's a good thing. But I think generally, whenever you go into someone else's country, there's a massive high cost to bear. So generally, it should not be done.
So when empires are made, do you think that empires are made because the ruler, the king, whoever, the queen actually cares about those other subjects? Or do you think it's about money and resources and power?
Do you think there's ever been a good king?
I think there has in history. Maybe been kings way, way in the past, where it was more of a burden, where it was a responsibility to look after your subjects.
And do you think there are a significant amount of monarchs who have improved the lives of their subjects?
No.
Well, then every successive monarch, everything must have got worse for the whole of history. You must recognise that. There can be monarchs where you don't think they're good people, but they seem to do half-decent job. You know, you're like, this thing they definitely did wrong, this thing they definitely did wrong. But on the whole, they did like a half-decent job, and the lives of their people improved. Their country moved forward. It did better. It became a more prosperous, more free, and more culturally rich place.
So I think if things got better, it wasn't because of a good monarch. I think it's because of the hard work, sweat, and labour of the people. I think ruling authority wants a degree of stability because that's how it can get best and most out of it, the people that it's trying to farm. It doesn't serve chaos, isn't in their interest. A bad ruler is one who is reckless, who is wasting money on wars of aggression, is basically a decadent leader, doesn't steer the ship properly, and basically the barons and the landlords get fed up with him and have him deposed or got rid of. The authority only serves itself. Okay? It's always been the people against ruling authority. And whether it's a monarch or a government, I don't want that authority. And I guess that's where I'm the anarchist. I don't want a ruler, anarchon, without a ruler. I don't want a ruler. I want to be left alone. I want to live by two simple principles, right? Don't be a dick. Do no harm. And two, don't take shit. So it's very, very simple. And then you can expand that, and communities can develop natural law. And they work out what you're allowed to do and what you're not, and what should be permissible and what shouldn't. But from that, we've now just got ruling authority, monarchy changed to government, after the Bill of Rights, to transfer that power from the monarch to a bunch of people called parliamentarians.
So this is
and
where
then you've got legislation and laws and acts, and then they take away everything you just talked about. Your ability to travel where you want, say what you want, work where you want, meet who you want. I don't want any of that. I just want to be left alone.
I agree. I would love to be left alone. The problem is, fundamentally, how do we create an anarchist, it wouldn't be a state, an anarchist land, shall we say? Is that vague enough that it's not necessarily a country with a king or something? An anarchist land? How do we actually necessarily create that? And I think the fundamental problem is, it's group mentality. Once let's say we restarted the whole country, everyone owns their own house and everything's anarchist. Well, immediately you're going to have a bunch of people going to form together in a club. That club's going to then go and start taking over everything else, and then suddenly, boom, you've got government all over again, and you've got just another new set of tyrants. I don't believe that anarchy is sustainable. I mean, I would like to be convinced. I've read, Mises, Rothbard, Hopper, and I'm trying. I'm desperately trying to see how anarchy can work. And I'm like, I really wish that
I've got an answer for that.
Go on.
It's a very good point you make, and I agree. The current state of humanity, not possible. The problem is every human being has to raise themselves up, has to be a better version of themselves, has to be the best possible human being. And we're so far off from that. Most humans lack critical thinking, are lazy, are stupid, abdicate their power and sovereignty to other authorities because it's easier and more convenient, will happily comply just for temporary transient comfort, and frankly, act like sheep, so therefore deserve to be treated like sheep, herded and slaughtered. And until the mass of humanity raises itself, we will never transcend at this madness of cyclical tyranny and then rebellion and then tyranny and rebellion. It's been going on for a very long time, millennia. And people have come along, maybe like Jesus Christ, and said, listen, stop looking for a savior. Jesus, God resides within you. Raise yourself up. Fight against the bankers. Fight against the priest class. Fight against the empire. Which is what he did. But that message gets lost. It gets diluted. People forget. And then they fall back into laziness, fall back into, oh, I love my master. Give me tyranny. Thank you. And until they snap out of that and realize that they are divine, eternal beings with so much strength and power, and that they're beautiful, and that they don't need someone else to tell them what to do, nothing is going to change. And I agree, you cannot have this anarchist kind of like state. And we're just too far off from that. And I'm hoping at some point humanity will wake up. But maybe we're just doomed to be in this perpetual cycle. I really don't like these pesky interruptions. When I'm listening to a podcast, the last thing I want to do is hear an advert. And some podcasts have a ton of adverts. Folks, listen, this is going to be the only advert you hear. It's my advert. I don't have any sponsors. No one's paying me. Not the MI5 or 6 or CIA or Mossad. It's just you guys who are paying for my content, and I appreciate you. So listen, the advert is very quick. I have a website. It's docmalik.com. There you'll find all the episodes, all the podcasts. You can search for them. You will also find details of my consultation service where I can help you turn your health around, give you a second opinion, totally unbiased, free of conflicts of interest, and practicing as a doctor should be. You will also find details of my affiliates, so products that my family and I use, like Sea Greens and Hunter Gather. You can find all that there, and the codes and the discounts. So folks, have a look at my website, check it out. If you haven't subscribed to my Substack yet, please do. It's free. And if you can pay £5-6 a month, even better. What a great Christmas present that would be. Folks, your support means that I can carry on with the work that I'm doing. And if you value my content and appreciate my work, please support me. Thank you so much. Back to the show.
Can you ever really change people's biology? Fundamentally, I don't believe that you can't win all the people all the time. Let's see even if you manage to get this for like a moment, you manage to get this working for like a period of 5-10 years or something, there'd be something that would come around, and you wouldn't have if you don't have all the people on your side, the system of anarchy just can't work, because people will just form a state and take over everything. So I mean, it's a difficult one. I would love if we actually lived in a place where I could just live my life and you could just live your life. And if we wanted some justice, we could just, go get the justice, and we'd all be proportionate, and it wouldn't start a feud and a blood war and everything like that. But I believe it's fundamentally impossible. I don't believe that most people are ever really going to be good. And I think what some anarchists say, oh, we just need to raise everyone up. You've recognized that it's not realistic now. But I don't know when that could become realistic. It's like the sort of new Soviet man. It's new anarchist man who takes responsibility for everything. It's like, you're not getting that. You're not getting that from most people. Most people don't
think most people aren't good?
Oh, man, have you met most people?
Tell me.
Okay, well, most people will happily turn around and, they're completely led by the media. I mean, look at all of the crossings of the Mediterranean. No one cared. They're like, this many thousand people have like drowned in the Mediterranean, and people are like, don't care. See a picture of a dead child lying on a beach, Alan Kurdi. Oh my God, now we have to take all of these migrants. It's like, wait a second, you didn't care about this yesterday. So I look at the statistics and I go, this is absolutely horrifying. You need to stop the boats. Like, you shouldn't have been bombing Libya. Like, that was absolutely mental. Gaddafi's evil, but it's better.
He's not. He wasn't evil.
I think most rulers are evil. I mean,
he wasn't actually a ruler in the strict sense. If you know much about Gaddafi in Libya, he wasn't. He was just like a token, like, ruler. It was all decentralized. If you read the Green Book, it was all local communities, decentralized, and they would have an assembly and meet. He was a figurehead.
Even so, putting that.
I'm just saying that's Western propaganda that he was evil.
Then I'll look into that. But even putting that to one side, right? They should never have bombed Gaddafi and completely destabilized it. So do
you know why they did?
Oh, because he was going to change oil to being done in either gold or off of dollars, basically. He was going to use some other currency.
I've heard it firsthand from his last spokesman, Musa Ibrahim, who's coming on my podcast soon. And he's made it clear. He said, Ahmed, we were about to launch a gold-backed currency that would have liberated Africa. And then we had a whole string of Western leaders come to us and go, don't do this. Come on. You play, we play, you win, you make money, we make money. Literally, this is the way he was speaking to him, Musa Ibrahim. He goes, and they came, Tony Blair, everybody else, and he said, don't do this. It's not going to be good for you. And Gaddafi was stubborn, saying, no, we're going to break ourselves out of this colonialism and free Africa and Libya. And he went, and then the bombs started falling.
That's what I'd expect. We need to go back to a gold standard, full stop. But
anyway, let's go back.
Well,
people.
We'll come back to a gold standard, though. We'll come back to a gold standard because this is really important, and people don't understand how important it is. But yeah, people. I mean, look at the amount of people who were happy to, dob in their neighbours. Look at the amount of people who are happy to go kill other people in wars for evil causes. Look at the amount of people who believe, I don't know, in Muslim countries where they'll stone people to death, but because that's the culture in their tribe and maybe in their religion as well.
How many Muslim countries actually do that?
I don't know. But let's just take a certain region of Pakistan, let's say, right? There are regions. I'm pretty sure it does. You don't believe there are any stonings to death?
I think it's very, very rare.
But even so, the fact that these things happen and they're socially acceptable, look at the FGM that happens in some parts of Africa. Like, there are these monstrous things, and people just follow along in a cult-like mentality. Why do people dob in their neighbours under the Soviet Union?
And why do people in Western countries think it's okay to mutilate children and change their gender?
Because people aren't good, generally. I mean, people aren't good when there's a little bit of pressure. People are good when there's no cost to it. Right? When there's absolutely zero cost to doing the right thing, people can do the right thing. When suddenly there's pressure, suddenly your job's on the line, suddenly, you might lose social standing, you might lose a bit of reputation. I mean, that's a key thing for women, and you're seeing the divergence between men and women. But fundamentally, it's there's money as well, there's prestige. I think most people just aren't good people. Most people just don't do the right thing. I think they just pretend.
I find that very difficult to hear because I partly agree with you. Because, well, part of me on any given day will be like, most people are good people. Most people you meet are just wanting to live their life, do no harm to anyone else, okay? Take care of their family, get food in their tummy, a roof over their heads, play with their kids. I think most people want that. No one wants to go and steal from anyone else. No one wants to go and harm anyone else. They just want to live their life, be happy.
I think people do when it's socially acceptable. Look at the kulaks.
No, but what I'm saying is, I agree with you what you're saying about but that's when it's the good times, right? That's what people are like. But maybe the real measure of a person is what are they like under pressure when things are hard and tough? And that's where I agree with you. I think most people actually are capable of great evil because they'll choose the path of least resistance. They will comply. They will punish their neighbor. They will say, oh, the unvaxxed shouldn't have medical care or whatever it is.
Take their money, use it to pay for poison to poison everyone.
Yeah. So
children. They poison children. Like, look, most people who are doctors are handing out these vaccines. And given what we've seen in the last few years, I don't know how you could possibly prove that any vaccine, given the amount of lies they've told, the amount of fraud and true corruption, I don't know how any of the evidence could be held as valid. How could we trust anything? So let's say there is a good vaccine out there. Let's say there is a great vaccine, or maybe there are 5, maybe there are 10 of them. How would we know? You know, someone says this is good. I go, well, I can't trust that. I can't trust any of this stuff coming from Pfizer. I can't trust anything coming out of the NIH. I can't trust any of this. I can't trust anything coming out of the NHS or is it JCVA? I can't trust any of it.
Joint Committee for Vaccine and Immunisation, yeah.
Yeah, JCVI. So, I mean, they're handing out these things, and we know a lot of them are extremely dangerous. We know that they kill people. We know they cause all sorts of diseases. And people go and they just hand them out. I was speaking, this was like 5 months ago or something. I was speaking with this girl, and she said that at first she started going on about how much she loved Margaret Thatcher. And I was like, you know, sort of like at the time she did good. There's also bad, but then set up a lot of the problems that we have now. It's very interesting. I'm sort of like so radical. It's like I'm seeing Margaret Thatcher from a rightwards position looking left. And I'm like, well, you know, like you just like all of this blob, like so many of the regulations, everything, like you let this all grow. You should have done so much more. You only get one chance to get into power and concrete everything. Like, why does the BBC still exist? If apparently she was this absolute rightist who let the BBC exist, who continued with the welfare state in the NHS, who kept
brought in the EU,
increased the amount of regulated professions, like doubled or more the number of quangos. You know, Thatcher saved a lot of people at the time by making sure that, you know, we were economically fixed. It was like a patch up, but we needed like proper surgery to fix the underlying condition, and that just didn't happen. And
I agree.
Everything's falling apart. So she says she likes Margaret Thatcher. So I'm just like, you know, I'm more interested in, Mr. Powell, who I think was a very principled politician, quite the hero. And anyway, get on to what she does. She says, oh, I worked as a receptionist at a jab centre. So you booked in people to take these shots that were killing and crippling them. She's like, well, you know, sort of like this weird sort of smile that looks like a sort of hostage situation. It's like, well, like, how do you, like, what do you do to try and like have some sort of redemption?
They don't see that. So there's a great book by Meredith Miller called Becoming Whole, and it explains why most of the people on this planet complied. Most people suffer from abuse and trauma of some shape or form. And when you've been in that abused, captive state, it doesn't matter if it's your family or your institution, then when the government abuses you, and it does on a daily basis, you're an abused victim, and you create that captive mindset, and you will just enable the abuse.
You think I haven't faced abuse?
I know. I'm not saying everybody, but most people. Sadly, few of us, because we saw the pattern of abuse, said, we've seen this. We know what this is. We ain't having any of it. We're not taking part in it. But sadly, that's a minority. And not enough people on this planet recognize that. Most people are being abused on a daily basis and are unaware of it. They're trauma bonded to the government, to authority, in Stockholm Syndrome. And they tell themselves lies. That's one of the things you do when you're abused. You tell yourself lies that it's okay, it could be worse. They love me. They're doing this because they care for me. And there's different steps that you become in that captive state. They isolate you, not just physically, but psychologically. The threat of, to your life. you know, so you need to stay at home, you need to be social distance for your sake, to save the NHS, to save granny, remember, it's all like that. And it goes on and on and on. And that's the problem. All these people are abused, and most of them don't even know they have been.
Yeah, but I think everyone's got this little voice in their head, which tells them when they're ignoring something, which tells them something.
I'm not making an excuse for them, by the way. Trust me, I'm not.
And I just think it's not like this is such negligence. It's such negligence. Like, negligence is not an excuse for going and committing crimes like this and killing people, killing a lot of people. And I mean, we need a reckoning. We need some sort of justice. But you know, these people who killed a lot of people. You know, people watch true crime documentaries, and there's like some guy who, like, I don't know, he goes and he like kills this other kid because he's got better trainers than him at school, and he's on SSRIs and he's gone nuts, and they're like, oh my God, this is horrifying. I'm like, that is absolutely horrifying. That is terrible. He has killed one person. That is horrible. But then you've got a doctor in a swanky suit with a nice car, and he's killed like 40. Oh, well, you know, it's like he let's just go through the volume. If he's killed 40 of them, you wouldn't care. You wouldn't care. Like, you think this one is horrifying, but these 40, they don't matter. That, like, what is going on inside their heads? Like, I don't get how people read 1984 and then comply with terms like Islamophobia, right? Or, you know, the different propaganda terms like hate speech. How can you read 1984 and then not see how they're trying to destroy language?
Or anti-Semitism?
Oh yeah, I'm not interested in this term either. Like, it's a weird term. Like,
transphobic. You hate trans people. You're scared of trans people.
Well, a phobia is,
yeah. You're fearful of trans
it's
people.
meant to be a medical condition.
We could go on and on. I know.
And also, what I don't like is the way they attack the word liberal. It's like, why do people keep using the word liberal for socialist? It's like this modern post-liberal thing. And I keep saying more of these like post-liberals. Like, liberalism got us here. No, liberalism got us up to the point of, you know, having much more freedom 100 years ago. And then they started bringing in like compulsory state education. They started bringing in the welfare state. They started bringing in all forms of regulation and control and oversight of everything in your private life. You're like, well, that was liberalism. It's like, no. And they're like, oh, well, it was liberalism that led to socialism. Right? Okay, so what you're saying is liberalism has to, like, a slightly better state of society, liberalism, or as close as we can get to it, that has to last forever. So if it lasts 1,000 years, and after 1,000 years, eventually some socialists take over, it led to socialism. So it's liberalism the whole time, because eventually some socialists take over and they take over everything. They start controlling. It's like, okay, so whatever system you have, that has to last forever, or it led to socialism. It led to whatever. This is mental. Okay, and also most people are like real low information voters. They're like low IQ, low information voters. Is it good to go round calling the complete opponents of freedom liberals? Because the average, 18-year-old, 20-year-old, 23-year-old, average people, oh, I kind of like freedom, don't like being in control, I feel a lot of, oh, liberal, that sounds good. Go vote for it. It's mental. Like, why are you giving them that much? You've massively conceded, like, possibly the most important word in the English language to your enemy. Why would you do that? And I look at people like, Deneen, and I met him not too long ago, and I didn't have the opportunity to properly speak to him. But I think, what's he pushing here? And I think
who's Deneen?
Oh, Patrick Deneen.
Don't know.
He's written a few books like Regime Change. I believe it's like the end of liberalism. He's basically pushing this sort of post-liberal thing.
What, pushing socialism?
It's all sort of, a bit vague, ill-defined. There's just a lot of Christianity within it. So sort of like, well, you know, we're a bit concerned that without the state power to sort of push Christianity, we won't. And there's this like sort of conjecture that I think a lot of people who are Christian are worried that without state power to push Christianity, Christianity will fall apart.
Because Jesus loved the state.
I personally think if we get to liberalism, that Christianity will have a bit of a resurgence, because there's not going to be a welfare state. And your church can actually go back to being a proper church that looks after people, right? That is the center of the community, you know, that looks after the sick, the weak, right? It's somewhere that people can bond together. But instead, churches are busy, you know, I don't know, putting up rainbow flags, and no one goes to them. Right? You watch the welfare state disappear, and everyone's going to be at that church, or a lot of people are going to be at that church. So you'll see a resurgence. I think eventually, like, we'll see more secular institutions, or I would like to see more secular institutions replace them, because I don't believe that religion is the way.
It's just another form of authority.
Completely agree. But I would rather have, you know, like basic English, Anglican Protestantism, not the modern rainbow flag stuff. I'd rather have that than the, you know, absolute chaotic totalitarian socialism that we've got now. But I don't think it's binary choice. I think under a liberal society, people get to do what they want. If they really actually want to create their sort of like totalitarian micro-state within that, they are actually completely free to all go to a piece of land which they own and, you know, go around like whipping each other to, you know, try and make corn or something, you know, and like they all agree that they can hang themselves for being kulaks at some point if someone like takes an extra crumb of bread. I mean, if that's what they really want to do, I'm happy to leave them to it. But obviously they wouldn't want to do that because, you know, the whole point of socialism, the whole point of the left is to take from others and control other people's lives.
Right. I want to quickly go back in time a bit. So you're 34. When did you start?
Whoa. You've aged me up.
Oh, sorry. How old are you?
Whoa.
Is it 32?
1.
31.
Oh, wow. I look bad today.
Right. You're 31. How old were you when you went into journalism, and what made you start journalism? Was it the pandemic?
I was about 20, was I like 26 or something? It was about 5 years ago, and I hadn't done like loads with my life. I'd done like a little bit in local politics, and I'd, you know, worked a bit in education. So nothing spectacular.
What were you doing at the time? Like, what was your job?
So I was a teaching assistant. And then I had been to university, which I was told was going to be this wonderful place where people cared about learning and knowledge and everything. And I studied politics and philosophy, and I thought, well, it's going to be cool. It's going to be great. Like a place where people read books all day and they really care about the truth. And you get there and it's just not. It's just not this great place of learning.
What was it?
I think in the science subjects that you learn something practical, generally. Like they're infiltrating the sciences right now. But I think within the sciences, it's fine. I think within like any of the social sciences, it's just rotten. It's just completely rancid. You know, people aren't necessarily interested in truth. People go after you for having original opinions. Like they see everything through this really confusing left-wing paradigm of understanding society, and it's very simple. Like you just start reading basic economics, you know, just read Atlas Shrugged on liberty. Like on liberty is like, yeah, sure, you can read that, but they don't want you reading Atlas Shrugged. They don't want you reading, you know, Mises and Rothbard and Hopper. Like when you actually start reading these, they really open your eyes and your mind. And so I
think an economics degree is a great way to become brain dead.
Really?
Modern economics. What is modern?
Well, yeah, if you're a Keynesian, you know, Keynes says if you've got he said if you've got a depression, you pay a man to dig a hole and you pay a man to fill it back in. The same man, it could be. So he digs a hole and he fills the hole back in, and he's getting paid. So apparently that's going to stimulate the economy. So this man wasting all this energy and effort is somehow going to make the country richer. Well, what is the wealth of the country? It's what it produces. So he's produced zero, because he's undone every bit of work he's done. So that is zero economic growth. In fact, that's a drain because he has to eat now more because he's not sat at home. If he was sat at home, he'd actually be taking in fewer calories, and he could maybe do a hobby on the side, which might be somewhat productive. Maybe he starts a little podcast or something, you know.
Do you ever hear Richard Werner, the economist, talk about him, Keynes?
Well, he wasn't really an economist in the first place, and the reason he got his peerage was because he gave politicians an excuse to borrow infinite money.
From the bankers.
Yes, so that's why he became Lord Keynes. I mean,
not just that. Do you know? He initially did a paper talking about how banks weren't just about deposits and loans, but were actually money creation devices. And in the whole economic model, they don't look at that. They don't look at the fact that banks make money out of nothing. So they have all these fancy equations, deposits, loans, blah, 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 inflation, interest rates. They never talk about money creation, the most important thing.
Gold.
Right? And so he did do a paper on that, but then suddenly everything he did afterwards never talked about money creation anymore. And suddenly he became a director of the Bank of England. And you can't become a director unless you're a shareholder and you got money. They literally filled his pockets with gold. He came up with his little theory, promoted this whole idea of injecting money into economy, never talked about money creation, never talked about the real role that banks play and central banks play and the bankers play in this. And it's just all fraud. So modern economics is just, frankly, as far as I'm concerned, just a joke.
Well, this is another one of those sort of problems with Thatcher. Everyone says Thatcher was so right-wing. Okay, if the government controls the money supply, that is socialism. Why would you allow the government to control money itself? Okay, you want to, ideally, that the most right-wing that you can possibly be, like actually having physical gold coins, right? And maybe you can have notes that represent those physical gold coins. But ideally, you want the physical gold coins to use, and you want maybe notes or something, or smaller coins that are sub amounts of those gold coins, because you don't want government controlling money. Because that's how they're able to, you know, fund all of these wars and everything. Also, if governments can borrow as well, they just borrow. Like, oh yeah, we'll just suspend the gold standard and just steal everyone's money.
So not only do they have
fight a war.
Only do they have a monopoly on the control of money, they have a monopoly on the tax, and you have to pay tax in their money. And ideally, you should have it should be that, you know what, there are lots of different currencies. It might be that there's a really good Bank of East Anglia that is trustworthy, and you know what, you use that money. You don't want to use the money from, you know, Merseyside, because it's a bit dodgy and counterfeit. Or it could be that you're just using...
I mean, it is Merseyside.
Or it could be just, you know, silver, or it could be gold, or it could be platinum. Whatever it is, there shouldn't be a monopoly on currency. You're right, because then the government just says, you have to use my currency, we're going to raise money and have debt from it, we're going to fund our little wars, you're going to have to pay tax in our money.
And also they're stealing money to give to the rich bankers. So basically they prop up this whole system, which is based on the banks create the money, the banks get to spend the money first. So when they spend it, it's worth more, right? As that then trickles through the rest of the system, by the time that money gets back to you, there's now been inflation. So you get less spending that money. So when they spend that first fiver, it's like you spending £5.50, and they're constantly like just creaming this off the top. And this is how these banks are working. It's mental. It's absolutely mental. Like, why are we... And it's like the most Byzantine, totally nuts system. They say, oh, but if we have a gold standard, there might be deflation. It's like, oh, really? So I could just... My money would become worth more over time. What's wrong with that? You know, like they create this myth that deflation is something wrong. Whereas when you've actually seen deflation... I believe that when you have a fixed supply of money, let's just say you couldn't find any more gold. Well, yeah, naturally it should deflate over time. They're like, yeah, but then people wouldn't spend, because they know that things were going to get cheaper next week. I'm like, well, okay, but it's not going to be that fast, mate. Like, steady on. It's not going to be that fast. Also, you know, their money is going to appreciate in value, which means that surely they can buy more goods with it. Sure, but they might invest it. They're like, oh, but they won't invest. Yes, they will. Because that investment will turn a profit in that time, and whatever they're buying into as an asset will appreciate over time. I mean, it's really simple. Like you see, I believe that Sweden, Scotland, which had the gold standard, whilst England was messing about at different points. and it's like they have secure economies. It's just fact. It's just fact. Like a lot of the boom and bust is created by this money magic. Like it's just math magics, and it's stagnated the amount of money that people actually have, like what people earn. You seen what happened in 1971? The website, which just flat lines. Like, why aren't people getting richer? And suddenly there's all this like boom in house prices. Why? Because rich people take their money, they invest it in houses, and then suddenly you've got all of these rent serfs because they can't own their own houses because the money has been forced out of being held in cash or being invested in businesses. When it's being invested in businesses, it's all being invested in some form of speculation.
It's not real economy.
It's not. It's like an illusion economy, and what we need to do is just get a load of Russian gas and oil and rebuild all of our manufacturing, so a manufacturing powerhouse, and then we can take over the world. But look, we'll agree up to there. Up to there, we're on the same side.
I'm rolling my eyes, you and you're bloody taking over the world, for God's sake. Right, anyway, now, so you start journalism during COVID.
Yeah.
What made you start? Like, why?
So I went down, and I saw the protests, like the police just like beating the crap out of people. I was disgusted, and I went down. The thing that tipped me over was I went down to the last appeal against lockdowns, called the Simon Dolan case, and guess how many people there were in the public gallery?
Don't know.
8, including me. That's it. I thought there'd be, masses of people, all of this press. No. Judge in it says, oh, well, you know what we've seen in the Times. Didn't care about the evidence, didn't care about but your rights, didn't care about, millions of people died for our freedom. Made a decision
What
off
court case was this?
the Simon Dolan case. The final appeal against the lockdown, saying you can't do these lockdowns. They just go, nah, I've seen some stuff in the newspaper, mate. That's it. So they just do what they will. So I went out, I made a video and I got 300 views. And I went from there because I thought someone needs to report on this. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? I was always brought up that people, when fought, died. Whether they fought in wars, whether they actually spent their lives campaigning, people really fought for us to be free. And so I felt I had to do something. And I'd never seen it so silent. During Brexit, it was 95% one way and 5% the other way. It was 95% that we had to remain and get on our knees and, take the EU.
Why do you think I stood for the Brexit party? Same. I was just tired of all the garbage. I don't think you know this. I stood for my local area. I was a PPC.
I was a campaign manager.
It was just, do you not find that whole time was just ridiculous? The fear porn and the lies and the garbage. People coming in and saying, like Mark Carney, our economy is going to crash. Americans saying, we're going to stop investing in you. We won't have medicines and drugs. Like,
you forget the super gonorrhea.
Yeah.
Remember how the planes weren't going to fly? And they're like, we cannot possibly trade with the EU. And I'm like, well, if they sell something, they just sell it to us and we sell it to them. And it's not that complicated. It's like, no, you don't understand, peasant. You do not understand. It's like, oh no, I think I do understand. I think you're just, like, they went mad. They went absolutely mad that we had to be ruled by another level of bureaucracy. And what we've realised, stripping that away, is actually our politicians are the exact same people as the EU, but now they can't blame it on someone else. So,
but we never got Brexit, which I'm really annoyed about.
They've carved off Northern Ireland, which is why I quit being in the Tory party. I was absolutely disgusted about them carving off part of our country. I consider that to be treason.
But it's even worse than that. It's Brexit in name only. Like, we're still tied to so many trade agreements and treaties and rules and laws. I mean, we don't really have our freedom back.
Well, this is it. I mean, people keep
we
trying
had to pay,
persuade.
and we had to pay 38 billion. I mean,
oh no, it was like double that, because then it was like there was like another bunch of like other liabilities. I estimate, I think it was like 70 billion, because it was like double.
But they played hardball, because they would say things like, "It's a hard Brexit." Like, yeah, so what? What's wrong with that? Great, yeah. Save 70 billion. Good.
I was speaking to some insiders not too long ago, and they said that basically Theresa May deliberately made sure that they weren't prepared. Like she deliberately made sure that there was no way of planning, like all of the contingency stuff for no deal. They just didn't do it.
Mate,
They just didn't do it. And
I've had Andrew Bridgen here, and he's told me that our leader and savior, Boris Johnson, wasn't even a Brexiteer.
I wouldn't be surprised.
He didn't want it either. They were all faking it. Oh, and what they basically gave us was a watered down version of Brexit.
Well, we know what the penalty should be for treason. So
yeah.
Boris Johnson should get his comeuppance. I mean, people keep trying to convince me that like Lord Frost is actually a good guy, and I just don't believe it. Like they keep being like, but he's a nice guy, and he was trying his best. And I'm like, I just don't believe it though. I think these people wanted to just bodge something together because they discovered this amazing thing called propaganda. And when they first started using it, if you started telling lies to me and you just started, you're truthful the whole time, but then you start telling a lie and you just get away with it. Oh my God, this is fantastic. And you just tell him lies. You start telling more lies, more lies, more lies, more lies, more lies, until the point at which I go, wait a second. This, and I realised this is the whole house of cards that comes tumbling down. And now they're up to their necks in it. They've killed people. They've crashed the entire economy. We're in for a financial apocalypse, by the way. So
trust me, I know.
You know the national debt. Do you know how much it's meant to be? Percentage of GDP?
Like 30% or 20% or something stupid like that.
No. It's like 100%.
No, it should be like.
Oh yeah.
Although I think we should have hardly any debt.
Yeah, but they say it's around 100%. So firstly, let's just like deal with the semantics. It is not the national debt; it is the state debt, and it was politicians who bought it, and they were enabling politicians to commit crimes against their people. They funded them, locking up innocent people for speaking. So frankly, everyone who's lent money to the government on this basis is complicit in their crimes. At the very least, we shouldn't pay them a penny. They can get stuffed. Why should I pay it? So, but that's 100%. Then there are the PFI contracts. So the government's locked into these contracts, got to pay them. There's nuclear decommissioning, right? That's billions upon billions upon billions, like tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions. I think it might be something like 220 billion. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm mixing that up with another one. Then there are the pensions, which don't exist. There is no pension pot. Okay, so Taxpayers Alliance do an analysis on it, and they get, they say we're over 400%. So that's everything every single person in this country earns for 4 years. So that's no lighting. No microphones, no heating, okay? No petrol in your car, nothing, zero, not a sheet of paper for your child to write upon at school, nothing else. If every single thing in this country were 100% dedicated to paying off this debt, it would take 4 years. But then we had healthcare. Now that's not on the cards because in a normal country, in a civilized country, people would have been paying health insurance most of their lives, and they'd be building up so that when they did get old and they did get ill, they'd be locked into some sort of coverage. Like the NHS is gonna that's probably like another 2 times GDP, maybe 3, because there are all these old people who you just can't. It's just not going to happen, and we've had this whole Ponzi scheme of saying, well, I'm paying into this pot, this pension pot. I'm paying into this like NHS system. There is no pot. It doesn't exist. You've been paying to lock up people for free speech, to go kill some kids in Iraq for quite a bit. That took a long time. And, you also had there was a big adventure over in Afghanistan for some reason.
Oh,
that costs a lot of money.
Our planes are over Gaza right now.
Yeah. You paid for HS2, which still doesn't exist as far as I understand. So you've paid to have some bureaucrats look at a field and take someone's house off of them. You have paid to import a bunch of Somali migrants to sit on their arse and smoke weed all day. You have paid to propagandize a bunch of children who basically don't have basic critical thinking skills. But it's great because they think the world's going to end in about 5 years, and you've paid for that. Although I don't know where that money's going, mostly to the head teacher to go on a nice luxury holiday. So you've paid for all of this for your whole life, you've not paid for a pension and you haven't paid for healthcare. You have no health insurance and you have no pension. They don't exist. And if we are to have the mass remigration that we need to sort out this country, it's going to look like this. The age is literally, it's going to go from being the pyramid, it's like that. It's going to be an inverted pyramid. It's going from the column, the inverted pyramid. How the hell is one young person going to look after two old people in retirement? That's just not possible. It can't be done. And, you know, like, where's your pension fund? They go, oh, well, you need to look after like the old people because we paid. It's like, no. Get out of the programming. Your pension doesn't exist and your health insurance does not exist. It doesn't exist. It's not real. So now we've got a big problem, and we either carry on in this big pretense and you keep voting Tory like a lot of boomers do because we need the triple lock pensions. Like, yeah, but it's all going to come crashing down. So is your game just to keep going until you die? You know, just literally eke it out. Like, because I'm trying to have a conversation. Like, how can we try to look after you considering how bad this situation is? Because you're screwed, or we're all screwed. I mean, unless your plan is literally just extract everything and then just die, just, 5 minutes before it collapses, a couple of years before everything implodes. Because if our debt is 7 times GDP, that's going to take, at the very least, decades to pay off. And we're finished. We're absolutely finished. There's no way of paying off this debt.
Do you know what the problem is? Government.
Yeah, well.
Which is a bunch of politicians beholden to corporations, oligarchs, bankers, playing their role, fleecing us, creating, not even creating policies, passing legislation, policies that have been written by other people to basically steal from us and to dumb us down, to make us sick and to profit from us. And you mentioned that, these politicians are treasonous, every single one of them, pretty much, because they are serving other people, not the people of this country. And it's a managed decline of this country. It's a managed demolition of this country and the West. And, if you were a real patriotic, populist politician, and they've made that word populist deliberately a bad word, which is, why would it be? Populist is good. It means you want to do what the population wants it, believes in, and majority people.
I mean, yes, in a way, but like I said,
I don't use it in the modern sense.
But I believe in a right and a wrong. Like, I don't care if, 99% of people believe something. If, they believe that they're going to, stone someone to death for speaking, or they're going to imprison them for just stating an opinion, then that's mental and it's wrong. So I don't care. Honestly, I don't care. Like,
I know, but
people
going
have
back,
fundamental rights.
If you had a politician who truly was patriotic and cared about the people, first thing it would say is like, you know what? Everybody needs to start making babies. Do you know what? There'll be tax exemptions for people who have lots of children. So right now, there is none. Most people who are working can't afford to have kids. But if you're a migrant and you have lots of children, well, you get a big house, you get allowances and benefits. Everything's skewed. So, you should be looking after the people who already live here and are, British, English, Scottish. I don't even believe in Britain. It should be England and Scotland. It should be separate countries now. And they should follow their constitution. They shouldn't be taxed to the hilt. I mean, imagine you got rid of 95% of the tax burden. Imagine the freedom that would give you, the joy that would give you.
It's charity. Like, people would actually be helping people out.
Absolutely.
But the problem is, like, children also used to be an investment. You have children, you get looked after in your old age. Like, people just haven't had children. And when they have had children, they've sent them off to university. They haven't homeschooled them. They haven't raised them or taught them anything meaningful themselves. They haven't passed on their profession, their craft to them. And then they wonder why they're completely alienated. And they're going, well, why do my kids believe this? Why do I have arguments with them? It's like, well, you didn't raise them. You didn't raise your kids. The government raised your kids. So your kids are just like little clones of the government. Like, this is mental. They've stolen your children and they've taught your children to hate you. That's mental.
They also convince you to send your children off to war and die for the country. By the way, that's They're really crazy shit. The government does a great job of convincing you to celebrate. So I wrote about this for Armistice Day. And never again and not to be forgotten. All that, actually what it should be is that we don't send our children off to fight for the government and the politicians and the bankers. You know what, if they want to fight, go send their own children. You know,
No, they wouldn't do that.
I mean, you're saying when you're a teacher's assistant at the schools and the children.
I had to de-radicalise some kids who genuinely thought they could swap their sex, who'd been in the state system, and they convinced them boys can become girls and girls can become boys. And, you know, look at all of this gender nonsense. And when I say gender nonsense, I mean it's nonsense because humans don't have gender. Humans have sex. And even people who are right-wing, they're like, oh, and the gender divide. I'm like, what gender divide? And they're like, there are only two genders. I'm like, no, there are three. There's in most Indo-European languages, it's masculine and feminine neuter. Like, this is just basic English. Like, come on, man. Why are you using gender, their term? This is what was propagated by John Money. John Money was a complete nonce who just Frankensteined, he Frankensteined a child, and then you had two brothers there, and he made them, you know.
I know.
This is disgusting. And they're using his language. They've internalized the language of the left. You know, these are people who are using this word gender, using all these phobia terms, and it's like, man, and like, these are meant to be the people on the right. And I'm like, well, I just don't, I get to the point where I'm like, everyone thinks they're right wing. I'm like, I just don't believe like most people on the right are. I think it's more like a sort of cosmetic thing that they just like having nicer suits or something.
Okay, so back to your journalism. You're doing it now for 5 years.
Well, I took a bit of a break in the middle when I was doing a lot of tutoring, but yeah, like 5 years.
Do you want to keep doing this? Have you got any plans or aspirations to do anything else? Like, where's this all going now?
Well, I've been doing a lot of stuff for UK Column. It's been fantastic. I've been covering a lot of court cases for them recently. I've been covering different cultural events, like cancelled artists, musicians. I've just recently gone to Brussels to see what's been going on over the continent in terms of people trying to fight back over there in different ways. And I mean, the Derek Dimmock Medaslam inquest, I've done a couple of reports on that now, which has been fantastic. And recently I put out a interview that's done quite well with Andrew, and that did quite well.
Andrew Bridgen?
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's what I do.
So why are you driven by all of this? Like, why are you so passionate about freedom? What is it in little Will that made you turn out to be like this?
Well, I was always taught that, you know, lots of people came before us and they gave a lot in their lives. So if we are to deserve what we have here, like we could have just been born in, you know, basket case country where we've got absolutely nothing. Like most of the luxuries, like the privileges, the good things in our society, they were built by other people. So you can either be one of these people who have this existential Anglo white guilt, and you think that, you know, oh, I don't really deserve this, so I'm going to, you know, just hate myself, you know, all this, like, hate my own race, hate my own people. Or you can think, this bar's been set, and I need to live up to that. I need to live up to that bar. I need to go out and try and, you know, maintain it. Like, I've got a duty now, so I'm going to follow that duty to try and maintain what other people have built, and I want to build on that. And then I will actually deserve this society in which I live. I mean, that's the way I see it. Like there's, yeah, my life hasn't been necessarily too easy. I mean, I did get put in like one of these so-called care homes when I was younger. There was an education, no real education there really. I mean, that was like the facade of it, but you couldn't really like learn anything when, you know, the fire alarm's going off like 8 times a day during the lessons, and like the kids are like coming after you, trying to beat you up, like they're beating them, massive brawls, like, you know, everything gets smashed.
Your school?
Well, it wasn't really a school, more like some sort of like, I don't know, like, yeah, no, they had a few teachers there, but yeah, that was, yeah, I guess like the state should never be in charge of children. So
This is in this country.
yeah.
So what you're saying? You're at a school where fire alarms were going off all the time, and
Yeah. So my mother,
where was this?
so I got put in this like care home. It's neither care nor home, and like I had like my home with my nan where I wanted to be, but the state decided to take that away from me.
No, hold on a second. So where was this?
East Anglia.
And from what age to what age?
I don't know. I think it was about maybe like 11-ish. Like I can't remember fully how many years. I've sort of just blocked it all out. Most of it.
And so you lived in this care home or whatever it is? Like you weren't with your own grandmother or your mother?
No, I just wanted to go home to my nan. Like, I could have gone home to my nan, but you know, the latte sipping like evil cunts of like the like social workers and whatnot, they wouldn't let me. I mean,
So the social worker stopped you from going home?
yeah, I used to try running away, and you know, I wouldn't get very far because I was a kid, and that's all messed up.
Why would they do that? Why would they not let you stay with your grandmother or your own family?
Well, my mother wasn't the biggest fan of it, and they believed that they knew best. I mean, for me,
What do you mean not the biggest fan of it?
well, my mother, you know, well, my mother didn't want to have me with her, and then like she didn't really want me to just be with my nan, so
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that.
yeah.
That's not easy. I'm sorry. That cannot be easy if
I
you're
lost half of this tooth.
What do you mean?
I just straight to the face.
By who?
One of the kids in there. The kids in there were nuts, man. They're all nuts.
So hold on. Your mother doesn't want you. So she doesn't want you to go to her mother because maybe she's got an issue with her own mother. So the state now takes you?
Yeah, but I literally had a home that I could go to where I could be with my nan, who'd raised me most of my life, you know, whilst my mother was out working. Basically, I like just about every day I was just with my nan. Like, my nan was the one who like taught me everything.
Man, I'm sorry to hear that. Is she still alive?
Sorry.
Don't apologize, mate. This is what I mean. Like, something has made you who you are today, and I'm sure it's this. Adversity and difficult times, you know, shape the person that you are today. I can't even imagine what you've been through.
Yeah, it wasn't great. But
And were you bullied?
yeah, I was the youngest one going in. So, like, you had all the ones who were like 15, whatever. They, yeah, absolutely ever living shit out of you. But no, that's, yeah, it's like, you know, I used to run away and I used to try and tell people, and like, they just, no, well, someone's got to do something. Well, who's going to do anything? You know, I used to have to choose, because we actually had keys to the rooms, right? I had to choose, do I try and run to the room in order to, but then I've got to get the key in the door, right? And it's like, you know, because they're chasing me. It's like, do I try and get the key in the door? But then that's going to take some time. And then to open the door, and it's the time to just get it closed as well. Or do I run to the staff room? But you run to the staff room and you're like banging on the door, and they don't care. They don't care. They will literally they're punching you outside of the staff room for like a minute before the door opens. So it's like, which do I choose? Because if I try going to the room in which, you know, I was meant to have, and then they could get into the room and they could just smash up the whole room, you know.
So these are really other messed up kids.
Oh yeah. I mean, like, I actually literally had a home that wanted me. Like, most of these kids, like, they didn't even have a home that wanted them. Like, you know, it was just mental. Like, can you imagine, like, the fire alarm going off like a dozen times a day? I started doing it. I started just, you know, and then, like, you know, smashing things in the place. It's like, it's just what happened. I didn't go around just randomly, like, beating up of kids, because I wouldn't do that, but I didn't care about this prison that kept me in.
Did you leave, like, when you were about 15, 16?
Yeah. Sometime like around then. I think maybe slightly younger. But I can't remember how many years it was. I mean, I could try and find the document somewhere, like just piles of papers. But yeah, I was there, and I just did not like. It was just horrible. Like, I didn't see my nan for, like, I think it was like 6 months before they let her, like, visit me. Like, I was like an animal at a fucking zoo.
Mate, so
These people are sick. Like, this is what the government was doing. This is what the government is doing. Why do you think all of these
and sadly it's happening even now, yeah.
of little girls for these grooming gangs, why are they all coming from the damn care homes? You know, people, like, I think one of the most toxic things in our society is Tracy Beaker, right? Because that show is what everyone as a kid, like, I don't know, like my age, like 30s, right?
So what
or
show
maybe
is this?
even like 20.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
It was her name. Is it Jacqueline Wilson or something like that? Okay, it's a very famous book series. It's about this girl who lives in a care home, and her mother clearly is like some sort of wasted drug addict or something. But she has like this fantasy of her mother's going to drive off in a fancy car and it's all pink and they're going to go to a mansion. And they had this BBC TV show, right? And this is what's informed people's conception of like a children home. Because as bad as everything goes sometimes, and whatever friction there is, that the staff are there and they love them and they're their new family. Bollocks. Those staff are like, they don't care one jot about these kids, right? No one, you can't report properly on the family courts because it's all closed courts. You've got all these kids who are being taken, and then they're put in these places where they run away, and then they get picked up by grooming gangs and they get raped, and this is happening institutionally across this country. Okay, it's completely systematic. Like, it's and you know, like, I wasn't at a place with like girls, so. You know, but those girls, like, you know, why do you think? Because, like, no one in their life is there for them. Like, no one actually loves and cares for them, right? These are just staff who are just, like, paid there to be there for a bit. And all these kids have got problems, or many of the kids have problems, right? And the ones who don't have any problems, they're going to develop problems because they're in this, you know, this place.
Absolutely.
And no one cares.
As a child, look, why do you think I'm doing my podcast? Because of those guys.
Yeah.
And they need love. I can tell you right now, they need love. They're like sponges.
Yeah.
You cannot give them enough love, mate. And if you take away a parent, you take away two parents, you take away their home, you put them somewhere else, transplant those, that was you. Someone took you out of that home, out of the no love, into a strange place. Mate, that's not nice. That's cruelty. I couldn't think of anything worse to do to my kids. That's horrible. And you're right. And it's happening even now to this day. And you know, we talk about other countries, invading other countries and colonizing. We need to sort out our own shit here right now.
Godparents. I think we should have a system of godparents. Like, why? Like, if you have kids, like, if you're gonna have a birth certificate, like honestly, birth certificates just stay away. You don't want your kids in the system.
Yeah, I agree.
Right? But if you're going to have like some sort of sensible country where you do have birth certificates and you do just track basic things like birth, marriage, death, right?
Yeah.
Do you know what you should have on there? godparents. And you know, a godparent really what it used to be, like you died, they're stepping in, they are like this parent coming in.
I agree.
And that should just be automatic system. Now there's like questions that we need to work out, like if a godparent steps in, who selects the new godparent in case they then die? Like, well, we can work this stuff out. Like maybe they have to jointly agree or something, or maybe like the other godparent gets like a say or something, or other relatives. Like maybe that has to go to a court. If they can't all just agree, sure.
It's in my will, by the way. If something happens to Kat and I, my wife and I, something's, we've designated who we'd want.
Yeah. I think that fundamentally you need to have this system of godparents, because why does everyone just go, oh, well, the government will deal with it? It's like, what? They literally kill children. Why are you giving them more children to ruin? Like, why would you do that? Like, it's like 2 + 2 and they're just getting like 63. It's like, how did you get this?
Yeah.
They're not even getting 22. Like, you can understand that sort of mistake. That's what like a 5-year-old might make. But yeah. So yeah, it's horrific, and once you've lost everything, absolutely everything in your life, like you understand the power of the government. You understand the power of the state, and you know that it's like everyone treats it as a game. Oh, well, I've got this opinion, and I would like to see this, and I would like to see that, because I think it would be nice. And it's like, yeah, but that's not how it works. In the real world, everything, you have to have a system which can be in the hands of your worst enemy. So I don't want the state doing anything apart from justice, juries, right? There, you actually have randomly selected. You need to, unanimity, which we had until 1967, and that treasonous villain, Elizabeth Windsor, right, destroyed. Like, this is treason. Like, to abolish juries. Like, everyone's like, oh my God, they're going to abolish juries. No, they're going to abolish the leftovers of the jury system, right? They abolished juries back in, was it 1967? But no one cared, because it's more convenient and helping them catch the bad guys. It's like, oh yeah, sure. I'm sure they managed to like grab a few bad guys who would have been able to persuade people and get away with it. But you can't be like, you can't put all of these innocent people in. And it disgusts me. We don't need just juries. Like, you can be put in prison for 6 months without seeing a jury. You know that? Currently, they can just. Literally, so there's your kids over there in that picture on the wall. All right, you got your wife, got your podcast studio, everything, do a bit of cooking every now and then. Oh, too bad. A district judge, which is funny because they're just a state employee. They're not even like a magistrate. Like a magistrate, you've got 3 of them, and theoretically they're all volunteers, so it's meant to be like a mini jury, but they're all, basically ex-solicitors, more or less, and they all
Freemasons.
Yeah, they're not really properly selected. It's not a random thing. But no, you can have a district judge who go, bye-bye, off you go, doc. Chung. Got bars. Next 6 months. Why? Because the government just said so. Where are your rights? Where are the 12 good men aren't true? Like, do you know what? In a way, I'm glad that they're trying to abolish juries, because it opens up this conversation about how we need to extend them and do the exact opposite of what they're doing, and say that no person can be put in prison without a jury, full stop. And a magistrate should not be able to do anything more than a significant fine and maybe a week's worth of community service. Nothing more than that. Even the community service, I'm like, well, that kind of seems like slavery to me. Why can't we just put magistrates down to fines? Like, and it's like, oh, but we'd have all of these people who'd have to go do jury duty. I'm like, oh, well, do you know what? If that's too inconvenient for you, then don't vote. Like, if you don't want to ever do jury duty, then I don't believe that you should vote. Like I say, rights matter, not votes. Votes are just a means to get rights. Okay, and rights are just by what you live your life. That's literally the essence for living. So if someone's not like, oh man, let's just say the excuses that some people give for not serving on a jury I'm not allowed to say this. It's so annoying. There is this excuse. There is this excuse, and you can imagine how trivial it would. It's like, let's say there was an excuse that was so trivial in a court case that I saw that it was basically like stating you were going to go bird watching. That's how trivial it was. It wasn't that, but it was basically that bloody trivial.
What was it?
Well, I got to be careful.
Okay.
Contempt of court. But there was something that was basically on that level of triviality, and I believe maybe for certain things you may need to defer it. If you've got some sort of health condition, you're actually physically incapable, then sure, right? But if you're like, oh, well, I've got this very inconvenient thing in my life, and it's like, okay, well, you can defer by up to a year. But if it gets to the end of the year and it's still very inconvenient and you're not actually physically incapable, then you're doing it. Otherwise, you shouldn't be voting.
Do you know, one thing I learned as well about the jury is that the power of the jury is also that they can look at the government legislation and can deem it whether it's right or wrong, and should be null and void. And they can actually pass a judgment on the legislation and say this is unfair, overarching, and it shouldn't exist. They have the power to send that back to the government and say, no, this legislation is defunct. That's the power of the jury service.
It's conscientious acquittal. They can decide that what the government's doing is essentially unlawful. And what we need to do...
And that's the only way we can do that right now.
We need to... Thing is, though, they can rule it in mistrial if you ever speak about doing this. So logically, you have the right to do it under English law. The problem is, if they've changed the threshold from it being just one, so one person could acquit, so you could do it silently like they used to do during the alcohol prohibition over in the United States. They've changed that. So now, basically, you're going to need 3 people. So you remember how during the lockdown, it was only, it wasn't 1 in 12 people coming out on the streets, was it? So how many people can you really rely on doing the right thing? Is it literally 1/4 of people? Oh, I can rely on 1/4 of people when they just want to go home and get rid of this annoying jury duty, and you look a bit scruffy, so maybe they think that you did it to like do the right thing and say, well, it's not beyond reasonable doubt. No, you're relying on the 1 in 12. Like someone who actually stand their ground. I've seen court cases where one person has just gone, no, and then they're overruled, and after, 2 hours and 9 minutes or something like that. It's a weird time. It's like they get 2 hours and 9 minutes, and then, or 2 hours and 10 minutes, and it's like, boom, okay, now convict. Tara Ahmed, you know about her case?
No.
Oh, she was basically a whole bunch of groups went after her because she was basically saying some nut stuff about Jews, but she's got the right to free speech. She was super pro-Palestine, going on about a bunch of nut stuff. But she was saying these Zionist Jews, these Zionist Jews, these Zionist Jews. And in one post she says these Jews, obviously meaning Zionist Jews. Because I've met this woman, she completely knew all these Jewish people. She was talking about certain subset. Stuck her in prison, and there was one woman who just held out, or one person that held out. I think I know who it was. I think it was this woman who was sitting on the end, but I don't know. You can't tell. But there was one holdout.
And was she freed? Was she allowed out then?
Eventually, but she was put in prison for, posting a comment on Facebook, and you had these these groups going after her, like the evil campaign against anti-Semitism, which is just an organisation that goes around locking up people for stating opinions. And these people are evil. They've got lawyers, they've got other, they work with police, and then they use their definition of this and that for the politicians. So they get in bed with all the politicians. And anyone who goes around locking up people for free speech, this is some sort of corrupt organisation. This is a really, morally corrupt organisation. Let me just be careful for their lawyers, who I'm sure will want to come after me because I said this on the Andro thing. But yeah, I'm sure you can investigate this for yourself.
Oh man, what is the state of the world? Listen, I'm looking at the time. It's 7 minutes past 2. I need to wrap up. I need to drop you off, and I need to get back at the school gate. Unless you want to pick up the kids with me. This has been a really eye-opening conversation. Listen, I've got one last question. Two, actually. Two. Will you come back in the summer? And I promise you, I'll light the barbecue. And unless you're vegan, in which case, don't bother.
Do I look like a vegan to you?
No. So yeah, come back again next year if that's all right, please. And two, this is a question I ask everybody. Listen, you're on your deathbed. It's many years from now. You're surrounded by your loved ones, your beautiful wife, your children, your grandchildren. Okay. Before you pass on and meet your maker, the creator, what words of wisdom and advice would you give the loved ones around you?
Freedom. Keep fighting. I think that would be it. I mean, what else do I do? Maybe I'll have more wisdom by that point. It's a very interesting passage by Marcus Aurelius, though. But I haven't got it memorised yet.
Yeah, I've got his book, Meditations. I've only got 10 pages in. It's interesting. He's a deeply profound philosophical man, wasn't he? Mr. Aurelius.
Most of life is struggle, isn't it?
And just listening to you, you know, if you listen to my podcast, you know I've had my fair share of abuse. I was brought up in a cult, domestic violence at home, being abused, sexually molested and all that crap. I think in life, most people go through some form of abuse, but people who have been properly abused can either take a left turn and carry on that perpetual cycle of abuse, or they can take a right turn and say, it stops with me. I'm going to stop this generational trauma. I know which path you're on, mate.
Thank you.
God bless you. And that's, in a way, I don't look back at what's happened to me and play the victim and regret what happened to me. I take it and own it and go, it's forged me into the man that I am today. I'm sure you feel the exact same way. There's a reason why you're doing what you're doing and not any of those other millions of people. It's because of what you were made out of. Come back again another day. I really enjoyed this, mate.
I will do. Thank you.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it. I, Ahmed Malik, am a private civilian protected by the Geneva Convention. My Substack, social media posts and podcasts are my personal experiences, observations and opinions. This information is for educational purposes only. Although I am a doctor, I am not your doctor and I am not providing medical or legal advice to you or to the wider public. I am not licensed or registered with the GMC or any other licensing board. The responsibility for the interpretation, due diligence, and use of the information from my Substack and my podcast lies with you, the viewer and or listener. Please do your research and use your discernment. It is not my intention to harass, intimidate, offend, defame, conspire, blackmail, coerce, or cause anxiety, alarm, or distress to any man or woman, and the information presented here is done so with peaceful and honourable intentions. Enjoy, folks.